Do you sometimes have a couple of hours in the week to sew for yourself and then you can't decide what you want to sew? That's exactly how I've been feeling this week. Hello, welcome back to my channel. My name's Deb and today I'm going to be looking at a bit of decision paralysis. In other words, the inability to make a decision that stifles our creativity. So if that interests you, stay watching. So this week I've had several afternoons and evenings where I've had the time to myself. All my orders have been sewn, processed and sent out, and a couple of hours have been mine. And I thought that would be a wonderful opportunity to sew a few garments for my autumn and winter wardrobe. However, I've only been able to make one item that actually didn't turn out very well, but we'll come to that later in the video. And I just wanted to spend perhaps a couple of minutes looking at the reasons why I found it so difficult to stitch for myself this week. If you remember, I took you through the decluttering of my autumn and winter wardrobe a few weeks ago, and you may remember that I have a huge amount of gaps in my wardrobe. So with that in mind, I should have been able to find a project to stitch up to fill those gaps in my wardrobe. However, it didn't quite work out like that. I have lots of patterns at my fingertips because they're all PDFs. I have lots of fabrics, the majority of which are all washed and ready to stitch. And I still wasn't able to match a pattern with a fabric that I wanted, or which inspired me to make it up straight away and that I was excited to sew. Eventually I did decide on a pattern. It's the Slay All Day pattern by Pattern Emporium, and it has several versions. They all have splits. I'll just show you the versions that are on offer in this pattern. There are, I don't know if you can see that. I'll put a graphic up anyway. There are a version of above the knee, below the knee, midi, maxi. So there are 4 lengths. There's a variety of options on where you can put the split. You can either have one side split, 2 side splits, a back split, or a split at the front, which is off centre. So first of all, I couldn't decide which option I wanted to go for. There are also some waistband options as well, but I was fairly sure that I wanted the deep waistband. So once I decided which skirt I wanted to make, I decided on the knee length skirt with a split at the, just off centre. I printed all the pages for the pattern. And once I printed the pages off, I decided that I wanted the midi or maxi length skirt. So then I had to go through and print off the extra sheets. I wasn't happy, so I decided to print off the pages of the PDF for the maxi splits at the side of the skirt, as well as the ones I'd already printed. So yeah, once I'd got all those pages printed off, I mean, I literally nearly printed off the whole pattern, and it's about 88 pages, to be honest. Once I'd got those printed off, at least I don't have to print them out again if I change my mind again, do I? So that's a plus point. I looked at the pattern and saw how much fabric I needed, and then went through my stash to find fabric that fitted my requirements, if you like. So what I would have liked to have made the skirt up in. And I pulled out a whole pile. This is the pile of fabrics I ended up with. As you can see. I mean, I've got quite a lot of choice there, haven't I? And I think possibly that's one of the things that led to my indecision. Now, the pattern asks for fabric which has between 60 to 100% horizontal stretch and 40+% vertical stretch. And therein lay my problem. I must have spent a couple of hours measuring the stretch of every single one of the fabrics that I've just held up in the pile. And only a couple of them were suitable. I did find a couple that did have the required stretch, but then I looked at them and thought, they're not what I want really for this skirt. So I had a real difficulty in choosing the fabric to make up in this particular pattern. I did come to a decision in the end, so I'll show you what I decided on in a second. And my first hurdle was not being able to find fabric with enough stretch. My second hurdle was not quite being in love enough with the pattern and the fabric together. The third problem was that, or the hurdle was that, I could see the fabric being made up into a better pattern for me. So I couldn't reach a decision on which fabric to use. The fourth hurdle was that I've had a migraine all week, and I actually think that had something to do with it, because I was desperate to make myself a skirt and use my time wisely, but my brain was crying out for some sleep to get rid of the migraine. So I should have listened to my body. I didn't, and I've got nowhere at all with this skirt this week. At the end, the fabric decisions were this fantastic scuba crepe leopard print on grey, but that will only make the shorter skirt. So yeah, I'm quite happy to make that up. I did actually have that earmarked for the Slay All Day skirt anyway. I found in my stash some black Liverpool, which again has the required stretch, but I thought that was a bit boring, and I only had, again, enough for a short skirt. I have 2 meters of this grey ponte, which also has enough stretch in both directions, but that was actually earmarked for Style Arc Northcote skirt. So I was a little bit reluctant to make up the Slay All Day skirt, because I have made the Northcote before and I know how it fits, and I like the fit and the style of that. So I was left with this grey French terry, which I had from Pound Fabrics a couple of weeks ago. It is French terry, it's got the loop on the back there, it's not very heavy, it's quite lightweight, and it does have the required amount of stretch. So I'm not going to make the long skirt as yet, I'm going to make the short skirt, and I'm going to make it up in the grey French terry. And I also had delivered, actually I bought it last year, I've got some cotton lycra in the same grey, surprisingly enough, because Pound Fabrics do actually have a core range and their colours do match really quite well. So if I hold, French terry up, along with the cotton lycra, they are a very, very good match. In fact, you can hardly tell the difference in the shades. So I'm going to make the skirt out of the French terry, and I'm going to make a couple of tops out of the cotton lycra, so that I have a kind of a fake or faux dress. So yeah, in the end, I was happy that I was able to choose fabric for the pattern and have the idea of making coordinating tops, so I could wear the tops with other things and with the skirt. So yeah, I will be making that up. I'm going to stick the PDF together this afternoon. So I did eventually decide, but it did take far longer than I would have anticipated, and actually ate into the hours that I could have spent sewing a garment for myself instead of deciding what to make and in which fabric. I did make myself something this week, but it didn't turn out all that well. It's a sewing fail. I am slightly disappointed, to put it mildly. I spent 2 whole afternoons making it, and it didn't turn out the way I would have liked. I'll show you what it is. Pattern Emporium released their newest pattern last Sunday. It's the Be Mine balloon sleeve top, and as you can see, it's being modelled very beautifully on the front page. It has, again, lots of variations, lots of options, but the style is really a loose fitting top with balloon sleeves, and there are different neck treatments, depths really, rather than treatments. You can have a front seam, you can cut it on the fold so you don't have the front seam, you can have a tab at the back, you can stitch the back up, etc. And there are lots of mashable sleeves from other patterns by Pattern Emporium. Now, I am not one for baggy clothes or statement sleeves, and you have to say that the balloon sleeves are statement sleeves. I'm not keen on those because I've got quite a small frame and I look like I'm wearing my mum's clothes, if you know what I mean. I just tend to feel swamped in baggy clothes and things with big sleeves, so I'm not a fan of those. However, I thought I'd try something new, and I did give it a go. I'll show you how it came out. It's here. I did it in, I made it up in white viscose challis, again from Pound Fabrics. It's a piece that was left over from a camisole that I made last summer, so in 2022. Yeah, I think I did the mid neck and the mid back neck. I did the button loop with the button on it, as you can see there. Actually, I was really pleased with how that came out. It's fake because the button's sewn straight through the loop. It has a little keyhole back opening in that. I didn't do the balloon sleeves, as you can see. I actually took the short sleeves from the all-in shirt, again by Pattern Emporium. Had problems with those, which I'll come to in a minute. I did a stretch size 14, which according to the measurements matched my body measurements fairly well. I'll show you a photograph of how it looks so you can tell me what you think. I have to say that generally I'm not very happy with it. I'm happy with the way that I stitched it. I'm happy with the way it came out. The construction was straightforward, really easy. Facing went on beautifully. I actually top stitched around the edge, whereas a top stitch should be around the bottom of the facing, so about an inch away from the neck opening. But I did mine right on the edge because I prefer to see from the photographs that the body of the top is far too baggy for me. I would say that the shoulder hangs at least 1.5 inches from the top of my own shoulder, and the overall look is baggy. One of the problems I did have during the construction, and which took me an awfully long time to work out, is that I've already mentioned that I used a mashable sleeve from the all-in shirt. I think it's called the all-in easy shirt. I'll pop up a graphic of it here. And there are various sleeves you can choose. So they are mashable, and the pattern does say, or it does indicate that the sleeves are mashable from the all-in shirt and the, I think it's a Meet You There dress. What I did, I sewed my sleeve underarm seam first, and I actually finished off the hem and set my sleeve into the armhole once the side seams of the top had also been sewn. So I set the sleeves in the traditional way. Now, the armhole has 2 notches at the back and a notch at the front. The sleeve has 2 notches at the back of the sleeve, a notch at the front, and a notch at the centre of the armhole of the sleeve head. So traditionally, that central notch should be aligned with your shoulder seam. However, the front part of the sleeve went into the front bodice really beautifully. The back sleeve didn't seem to fit the back armhole, and I had a lot more armhole than back sleeve head. Now, what I should have done, there's been a lot of discussion about this on the Facebook group, is that there is a notch just on the armhole or the arm side on the back piece, just down from the shoulder seam, where the shoulder seam should be. And the notch at the centre of the sleeve should be aligned with the notch that's indicated on the back bodice piece. And if you do that, the sleeve will fit perfectly. I fudged mine in that I did actually move the central notch back slightly to get it to fit, otherwise it wouldn't fit at all, and then eased the sleeve onto the back bodice arm side. So I did manage to get it sorted out in the end, but overall I wasn't happy how that came together. There are instructions telling you how to do it. I missed it completely in the instructions, so it is my fault. However, that's not the issue with the fit. The issue is that it's too baggy for me. I think that having the disaster with the top also didn't leave me in a good frame of mind to make anything else this week, especially for a pattern that I haven't used before. Yeah, so I'm left with having made a bit of a disaster. I mean, I will wear this top probably over shorts in the summer because it's a really nice light top. The fabric's beautiful, nothing wrong with the fabric whatsoever. In fact, I've ordered some more of it, but I won't be making that top again. If I did make it, I would size down to a size 12 because I do feel that the shoulders were far too big, even though I'd gone on the pattern measurement. Yes, I think that's all from me this week. At least I've got a project to be getting on with. I'm going to stick my PDF together this afternoon and hopefully cut out that French terry skirt in the grey and hopefully make myself some tops to go with it, which are really should be fairly easy. So hopefully I'll have something to show you next week as well. So until then, happy sewing. Bye.